Now we're going to work on the blue salvia, and I'm going to put glue up this side to begin the first one. Spread the glue out, and you want to work in an area that is only slightly bigger than the flower you intend to put in. If you put too much glue in this area, while you're working it can dry and then you have a lot of glue to remove. Get right down into the corners. You can change brushes if you need to, use a smaller one. When we cut the petals for the blue salvia, we held everything together by using masking tape. So just bring it along, hold it over the area you want to put it, make sure it fits. You may have to remove some of the lower petals. I'm going to pop this one here and press right down into the glue and hold the petals as you gently pull back the tape. So you need to keep the petals in place as much as you can. If you see any lift, go back in and hold them. Now you can change hands and put your hands on the petals under the tape now. I'm removing the lower ones because I need to blend them in with the leaves that are lower down. So just move any that are loose, make sure they're in place, and really press down on the others to make sure there's no air bubbles and that none are loose. Take any off that are, and then you can start replacing them. And again, just really make sure it's tightly down. Using the tweezers, start replacing the ones from the bottom that are still stuck to the tape. Trimming any to fit properly where necessary. And if you're not sure there's enough glue, you can add a bit to the mirror here, which you can use to dip into. Again, pressing down each piece very carefully. When you get lower down like this, you probably have to trim off quite a lot to make them fit. Use the pen if you need to mark them. Last piece of blue salvia in, and poppies next. Spread out any wet glue in the area you are next going to work, adding more if necessary. Spread it out, and again you don't want it much deeper than 1 millimetre, and if you have too much you can take it off and put it further up the mirror to dip into later. Now because your poppy is only 5 or 6 petals, you can lay them in individually by taking them off the tape and sticking them straight into the glue. Make sure everything is pressed down very firmly. And for the centre of my poppy, I'm going to use a dark purple little nugget. Next we want to start filling in some of the greens so that the glue doesn't dry out. It's quite difficult to get it out from these small gaps. So lay your piece over and use a pen to mark the glass that's underneath. nip this out. Bit more glue if needed. Using a small brush this time so it doesn't go on the upper surface of the glass. And really press that piece down. With these gaps you can lose a lot of offcuts. Now for my next salvia. So I want to lay it across to see where I'm going. It's too long for this particular picture, so I'm going to use a pen to mark roughly what I want to remove. Either using a knife or fingers, gently tear or cut the area that you want to remove and take off any extra petals. And that should be about right. Spread out any way. There's a splinter in this one, so that needs to be removed. But spread out any wet glue you have on the mirror. Right. Now lay your salvia, glass side down, tape side up, into the glue and really press it down. Again, hold the pieces as you gently pull back the tape. This will displace some, but you can go back in and sort that out in a minute. Okay. Now to start filling in any gaps. And do the salvia first. Really pressing them down as we go. And again, trimming any pieces that are too big. I'm going to use this glass nugget for the poppy seed head and start adding some buds. They're very simple to cut, just take a long triangle and trim the ends off. Bit more glue where it's needed. We'll be working on the background next. Bit more glue again. Now you can put wet glue on top of wet glue, so where I'm brushing it in now, the glue underneath is still pliable. If it was dry, I would have to remove it all. That's why it's so important only to work in small areas at a time. Again, start laying your green in, trimming where necessary and filling in the gaps. You can mix a few long pieces with short pieces, and it gives the different looks between the grasses and the leaves in the background. Don't forget that all your pieces must have a gap between them. This is obviously for the grout, but also it helps with expansion. So if the piece gets hot in the garden, the glass, when it expands, has the grout area to expand into, because most grouts are flexible. I'm just going to add a bit of extra glue to this one because this is a textured piece, and the way I want to use it is going to be textured side down, so I need to fill in the air bubbles. You can add some little nuggets and things as you go if you like, or not if you don't. I'm going to concentrate on the background around the salvias now. If the glue is still wet, you can use it. If it's still pliable, you may need to add either some onto the glass itself or into the area that you are working. Of course, if it's dry, it must be removed before you can put wet glue down again. If you can find pieces to fit the various gaps, great. If not, basically you're doing a giant jigsaw, and if you can't find the right piece to fit, you can cut one to fit. I cut another poppy bud to go on the other side of the salvias here. Okay, now I want to remove all the glue so that we can get ready for the next section, which is the foxglove. Clean all the glue off right at the top of the mirror. Everything that is now dry needs to be removed right back down to the shiny surface. Hold down anything that you don't want displaced, just as you go round with the blade. Really good idea to clean off all your tools as well while the glue is still pliable, off the brushes, blades, tweezers. Otherwise, once it's dry, it becomes very difficult to remove. And that's about it. You're ready to get on with your next section.